Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm doing a playthrough of Miskatonic Tales Journey to Innsmouth, and disclaimer that I got a review copy of this one. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, consider supporting us through Patreon. You get early access to our videos and exclusive videos every month you can't see anywhere else. You can also listen to our weekly podcast for reviews and design discussions, or join the conversation and say hi on our Discord. Another quick disclaimer, by the way, I am a bit under the weather, dealing with a cold, so if my voice sounds a little weird, just to explain why. But yes, this is a 3-scenario campaign in Miskatonic Tales, although I guess you could play them one-off. I'm going to be showing the very first one called The Whispering Caves, so spoiler warning, there are branching paths and branching choices in the game, but you are going to see some stuff that is exactly what happens if you play through it, so just be aware and skip this video if that's going to bother you. But if you want to at least see how the system works, maybe stick with it for a little bit. I'll be two-handing 2 full characters and using 2 companions, because they do have ways to kind of simplify how many characters you have to control. And by the way, one of my sons and I played this at PAX Unplugged, I think it was 2 years ago, this same scenario, and I think got to the end. Now, I'm sure a lot has changed since then, but I do have a little bit of familiarity with what's going to happen in here. But before we jump into Mike reading a whole lot with a bad voice, let's talk about what's going on with our investigators. Okay, so they have 8 characters in the game. You have to have a team of 4, although again, some of them can be companions that are simplified. So here I've got Margaret Sinclair, the federal judge. She's got this little 93 here. I can read a bit about her background. I'll show you that in a second in the storybook. She's got the keyword law, which will sometimes be checked by things during narrative moments and tests and such. And she has 4 max health, it's not a lot, but 10 max sanity. So if this goes all the way down, or if either one goes all the way down, then she dies. She has a starting item that is keyed to her. In this case, it is the federal law code. This 3 here and these 3 tokens mean you can use it 3 times. And in her case, she can use it for, I think that's appearance, for a free success in an appearance test up to 3 times. She's got her energy over here 4 to start, and that's also her max. And she can spend 2 of them to use her special power. Each character has one. In her case, she can draw a card from her deck until she gets a non-negative card to give her more actions for a turn. And she also has magic. All characters share this. She has 5, and for 2, she can reroll any number of white dice in a test. You'll see how that works soon. And then probably the most important thing are her starting cards. So these are generic attribute cards. These are how the tests in the game work. So she's got a little bit of appearance, a ton of education, a decent amount of power, and then she starts with 1 stress card. All characters start with this. And basically, as you'll see in a moment, you'll be shuffling those each round. They always get shuffled. You don't go through until you see the entire deck. And then you draw 5 of them for your actions and kind of stats for the turn. My other full character is Arthur Blackwood, a police officer from Rockport. He's got a 12-gauge shotgun, so quite a bit different from Margaret's starting item. And he has the exact opposite stats of her. He's really good at all the physical stuff. Agility, strength, and I think that's fortitude or stamina. Constitution, there we go. And his power is for 2 energy. He can give himself a plus red token. You'll see how that works again when we get to tests. Now, each character has a companion side where they basically just get 4 tokens you can use every turn to give specific bonuses to other players. They still have their keyword, and they still have magic that other players can use for rerolls. In this case, I'm going for Laszlo Varga, the antiquary, and Sarah Ellington, the journalist. But to save on table space, I've just moved all their stuff like this. So these are the equivalents of what their 3 stat bonuses are. And then they've got a 4th action they can take each turn to take kind of generic actions. I've got their magic pool right here. Should do the job, because I'm worried that once I start putting out the map, this will be a table hog and we'll run out of space. So the only thing I do have to remember is that she's got 6th sense when she takes actions, and he's got occultism. But we've got this little keyword sheet that we mark things off of, so I'll just write it down there. All right, that's enough to set up. Let's read some narrative stuff. Again, this is going to be pretty much all reading, so prepare yourselves for that. But I'll explain the mechanical aspects of the game as they come up. It's pretty straightforward. So first, let's read our main characters' backgrounds. Arthur Blackwood. A report from your colleagues in Rockport regarding suspicious activities in the Sagamore Cave has caught your attention. Local fishermen reportedly spotted unusual lights and nocturnal movements near the caverns. Given your experience with smuggling networks, the Rockport Sheriff's Office has requested your expertise for this discreet investigation. And why is Margaret there? Following several significant alcohol seizures in the region, you have been commissioned to personally supervise this sensitive investigation. Rumors of corruption within local law enforcement have led the Bureau of Investigations to request your presence to ensure the integrity of the operation. Okay, now let's jump into the actual narrative. We're starting at entry 00. The night of September 19th, 1925, falls upon the coast of Rockport, Massachusetts. Waves crash against the cliffs of Halibut Point, creating an atmosphere conducive to clandestine activities. Your group has been tasked with investigating possible alcohol smuggling near Sagamore Cave, an uncharted cavern system formed by the relentless sea crashing into the cliffs of Granite Cape for countless millennia. You steer your skiff towards one of the fissures in the cliffside. Darkness envelops you, only pierced by the faint glow of your lantern. The entrance, initially wide and imposing, begins to gradually narrow. The granite walls, damp and gleaming, seem to draw closer and closer to your vessel, until your oars brush the stone with each stroke. You're aware that if you delay too long, the return path could be cut off by the rising tides. After some cautious navigation through the damp and hollow darkness, the passage widens, opening into a vast cavern that stretches beyond the light of your lamps. In the far dimness, you distinguish a wooden dock jutting out from the cave wall. A flickering oil lamp hanging from a dock post casts a trembling glow upon the dark waters. Could this be the smuggler's lair? Upon disembarking, your suspicions are confirmed. Before you, a rudimentary building extends from the cave wall. Weak light filters through the poorly fitted planks. Blocking your entry is a massive door of dark wood adorned with strange patterns. Okay, so it says I'm going to put out location cards 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I reveal location card 1 and put all our characters there. I take objective card 1. I place the time token on turn 1 of the event board. And then there's some errata. That's what that sticker there shows. These are stickers that I have added to the book. Let me explain that in a second. Hold on. Okay, so here's our map. You'll see in sort of 7th Continent, 7th Citadel style. They point to where the next one goes. Supposed to reveal number 1. There's our boat. And our characters are hanging out on there. The smugglers. You must find evidence of contraband in Sagamore Cave and arrest all the people involved. 1 item card and 1 keyword. I'm not quite sure what the 1 item card and 1 keyword part means, but that's okay. Okay, now the errata. So here's how my review copy shipped for me. It had 1 double-sided page for each of the 3 scenarios, and what you're supposed to do is put an errata sticker inside the book, like you saw I already did there. And that'll tell you to go and check the errata. In this case, we're supposed to read entry 1 immediately after finishing entry 0, but they forgot to put that. So most of them are pretty minor, but yeah, you can kind of see the format. They sort of show where things left off and where the errata picks up in comparison to the rest of the entry. So if you hate errata, this might be annoying, but I've not found it too cumbersome. Okay, but let's read number 1. Before you, beyond a rickety staircase of mismatched wood and slates, rests a rudimentary ramshackle structure built into the cavern wall. Faint light filters through the poorly fitted planks. At the top of the steps stands a massive door that feels out of place considering the dilapidated state of the rest of the building. The door is crafted finely from dark wood and adorned with strange, intricate patterns. Okay, now we get the actions we can take in this location. So let's just kind of run through these. So we could listen at the door, we could study the patterns on the door, we can attempt to open the door, or we can get back in the boat and leave, if we just want to cut our losses and run already. Let's listen at the door first. And here's how a lot of these entries look. Let's focus on this for a second. It says if location card 2 is not revealed, so again, we can take this. So it says spend 1 and then that little gear icon, that is 1 action, basically. And how it works is each card in a player's hand can be used as an action, or it can be used to boost a test. So each of my characters, I have to draw my cards in a second, but yeah, each of my characters has 5 action cards each round, generally. So I'm able to take 5 actions, and then the companions who are helping us, they each have 4 actions, but any of us can use them. So either Arthur or Margaret can use the 4 actions from my 2 helpers interchangeably whenever they want. And if it says either I could validate 6 cents and just spend an action, which is great, that means that if I have Sarah do it, since that's her keyword, she can do it just for 1 action. Otherwise, we'd have to test, I think that's the power stat, and get at least 2 successes to be able to get the success thing here. So yeah, let's draw my cards and then we'll have Sarah do that. So at the start of the game and at the end of each round, you are supposed to shuffle your cards up. And then you draw 5. And if you get any negative cards, like the stress card, you can put them to the side. They might do negative things to you, and then you can draw more. Geez. Okay, so she is heavy on education and power. And you'll see this when you get to tests, but basically for the specific stat, like power in this case, you can get an automatic star with a card. Whereas if you use it for the 2 adjacent stats, because it's kind of like a wheel of 6 stats, if you can imagine that, you would get to a die that might give you success and might not. And then, like I said, you can discard a card for an action. So she's got 5 actions, or like stuff to contribute to education and power tests. That's her general deal right now. Meanwhile, Arthur got a bit more of a mix of things. You got 2 agility, 2 strength, 1 constitution. And then, like I said, the companions each have 4 actions a turn, but either Arthur or Margaret can utilize them. They have 1 generic discard a card to perform an action, and then 3 things that are key to specific stats. So here she could help with agility, appearance, or power tests, or she could get 3 more actions. But yes, with her 6th sense, let's go ahead and spend her basic action and listen at the door. We would have had to do a test otherwise, which would have taken us at least 2 cards probably, but we get an automatic run 18 success. You cautiously listen at the door. 2 voices are discussing.
"It's the great moment we've been waiting for,"
says a deep, hesitant voice. "Yes, we have worked hard for this," replies a second voice, higher pitched and nervous. "Everything will go well." The rest of the sentence is drowned in a gurgle. The conversation resumes, but the voices are now lower, as if the likely smugglers were afraid of being heard. Ooh, all characters present add +1 red token. Nice. And then your investigation stops here. It's just a generic stop reading instruction. So we each get that status effect once we have our first dice-based test. I'll explain what that all means. All right, now we could check the patterns on the door, but whatever, let's just go in. So all characters present who want to enter the cabin spend 1 action to read 128. And let's see, I'll have Margaret use his generic action, and I'll have Arthur use his education action, since I don't think, number 1, education is probably going to be the most important thing at the beginning of this adventure. And also, Margaret's got 3 cards of it, so she should be fine. So both of us are utilizing theirs to save our own cards. All right, reveal location cards 2 and 3. All characters who pass through the door place their character tokens on location card 2. You open the door and enter the cabin. To your right as you enter is a jumble of barrels and sealed wooden crates. To the left are several wooden shelves bending under an assortment of odds and ends. At the back of the room stands a wooden table surrounded by 3 chairs. On the table, the remnants of a recently interrupted meal. In the northwest corner, a narrow bed leans against the wall next to an empty coat rack. A coal stove fills the room with a smoldering light and harsh fumes that burn your eyes. Next to the stove is a stone basin containing a jumble of dirty dishes. The only other visible exit is a closed door in the northeast corner of the room. And it says, place a exclamation point token on location 2 unless you've validated verified 1. No, and then we'll read 2 automatically. Let's look at what all this looks like. Okay, so we got the room there. There's the bed and the stove and all of that. We're in here, and I'm assuming we're about to punchy with the speakers that were in the room. There's that little exclamation point. The air is moist and heady with the smell of mold emanating from the worn, decaying rugs clinging to the rough wood floors. To the east as you enter, your curiosity is piqued by several barrels crammed into the corner with a number of sealed wooden crates piled on top. The west wall is lined with sturdy wooden shelves, which, despite their construction, bend heavy under the mass of random objects crammed into every shelf. Okay, and I can't do any other actions in here. I have to read 167 and see what happens. I can actually explore the room later. 2 men stand at the table, caught in hushed conversation. Before you have time to react, the first, dressed in worn worker's clothes, rushes toward a door in the northeast corner of the room. The second man remains in place, occupying your attentions, while his companion escapes through the door and slams it behind him. He's dressed in a black military uniform adorned with gold epaulets. He stands straight despite an apparent deformity which causes his clothing to bulge oddly in places. With a fluid gesture, he takes a pistol from the table and aims it steadily at you.
"Visitors are not welcome here,"
he growls in a hoarse and strangely guttural voice.
"Now you die."
Okay, all characters present add a stress card to your discard pile. That's not great. This is the same type of card that we started with. And like I mentioned, when you draw your 5 cards at the start of each, or at the end of each round, I guess it is, if you draw negative status cards like this, you get to keep on drawing if you want to, but you put these to the side, and for stress, if you get 2 of them, you take 1 sanity damage. Now, both Margaret and Arthur are awesome in terms of sanity. Health is their worst stat, so I'm not too worried about this. All right, now we've got encounter card 1. Take the enemy card 1A, start the encounter. Oh, and that's it. The rest of this is just once we've actually beaten the fight. All right, hey, we can get to our first skill test. So we've got man in uniform. And for enemies, you generally have 2 ways to go. You could try a stratagem, where you try to basically defeat them without killing them or violently attacking them, or you can do combat. I got a shotgun, I'm going to do combat. So this becomes the only thing we can do until it's resolved, so I can't start investigating barrels in the room and stuff while this guy's still standing there. And it'll either be resolved at the end of the round when we no longer have any cards we want to play, or we don't want to play them anymore, or it'll be resolved when one of these is fully filled. Either we've built up, because you can do this over multiple tests, 4 successes in appearance, that's the bottom one, or 5 successes, or actually 5 damage, because it's a little bit different than successes, in combat. We're going to go for the combat one. So when you do combat, you need to have a weapon. You can have 2 single-handed weapons or 1 double-handed weapon, in this case a 12-gauge shotgun that Arthur started with. You need to use one of its uses, so the shotgun will actually be out of ammo after 1 more shot. And then this is not like most tests. Most tests, you don't start with any successes and you have to play card stuff to get them. But for weapons, you do get a minimum number of successes. So here I get 3 for free out of the 5 I need to defeat the guy. And then you get 1 more for every success you get in an agility test. So let's go into how these tests work. I can discard cards, well, actually play them from my hand because they stay in your play area until the end of the round. And if they exactly match the test, as I said, then it'll be +1. So here I could just do this and I would have 5 already damage and I'd be good to go. Or I could use adjacent cards like Strength here to add a white die. Let me show you those. So the white dice have 2 miss sides, 2 regular successes with stars, 1 cancel a success, ouch, although notably it does not cancel successes from cards you played, like automatic successes, only from other rolled dice. And then it's also got a single dice crit where you get a success and you get to roll another white die, although I guess that one could roll and cancel out the crit. Additionally, for every test, you have to roll the red die. This has 2 regular successes, 1 crit success, which again would roll a white die, not another red die. But then it's got 1 each of Skull, Elder Sign, and Tentacle, which interacts with the event board over here. So time is going to tick down each round and trigger automatic things until we run out of time and all die there. But these events are going to slowly fill in for whichever type of event it is, and also trigger little negative events as time goes on. So the more tests you take just in general with red dice, the more chance you have of terrible stuff happening. And even if, as in this case, I'm going to 100% guarantee that I will succeed because I'm using 2 agility cards for automatic successes, plus the 3 damage from the shotgun, I still have to roll a red die for that negative. Although in this case, I'm rolling 2 and keeping my preferred one. That's what this little token we got earlier is. So hopefully one of these will be a star. Beautiful. So I don't have to have a negative event happen. So I've gotten 6 damage, 3 plus 2 for my spent agility cards, plus 1 for my red die, which is more than we needed, so we read 199. A scarlet spray bursts from the shoulder of the man in uniform. Yeah, I bet it does. The impact makes him stagger. The pistol jerks in his hand without taking his eyes off you. Blood flows abundantly down his arm, dripping onto the floor in a steady rhythm. His massive body slumps slightly toward the bed behind him. That's what happens when you get shot with a shotgun, buddy. Despite their wound, the metallic gleam of his pistol remains dangerously pointed in your direction, and several gunshots ring out while a harsh, wheezing breath escapes from his throat. Okay, all characters present add 1 injury card to their play area. This is basically the same as the stress cards, plus 1 card for each empty combat box. Yeah, so like I said, these are equivalent to the stress cards in that when you get 2 of them in your play area, you take a damage, which is much more worrisome for us. The stress cards and the injury cards, you can take a single success test to get rid of them, although remember that might trigger more events and all that. But we only have 1 in our play area right now, so unless we get another one, we should be fine. And note that if we had ended the round, because remember, we have to keep on just doing this test or one of these 2 sets of tests until the end of the round. If we had ended the round with him only having like 4 injuries or 3 injuries or 2 injuries, he would have done more damage to us. So you don't necessarily have to build up the full number of successes, but you generally want to. All right, now we can press to continue the fight, or we can try and negotiate with the wounded man. Oh, let's do that, because I'm pretty good at that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say that when Arthur used or did his test, this goes away. It's single use. All right, so let's have Margaret do this. She needs 3 appearance successes. Now, she doesn't have any direct appearance, but she does have education, which can give her a die, so let's use that. We'll also have Sarah give her a direct appearance, so that's 1 success. She'll quote some statutes of law to the bad guy, so that's 2 successes. I mean, 2 successes plus a white die plus a double red. That seems like probably enough to get to 3. But let's see how it goes. Oops, I forgot to roll another die. Not that it ended up mattering. So I got 1 success from Sarah, 1 success from the federal law codes, 1 success from the red. Good to go. All right, so we successfully negotiated. Read 265. The man is slumped on the bed, his dark uniform now stained with darker spots that are spreading. Blood flows from several wounds, forming a growing puddle on the sheets. His breathing is labored, wheezing. "We're here about the alcohol trafficking," you declare as you approach. "Tell us where the contraband crates are hidden and we can work something out." The man's eyes suddenly widen, a strange light dancing in them in the dimness. "There is no alcohol here," he articulates with a gurgle, a trickle of dark liquid running from the corner of his lips. "We are not smugglers." His head falls to his chest, lifeless, as his last words echo in the silent cabin. Okay, this says validate the keyword truth. So we get to cross that out on a little keyword sheet, and if anything else checks for it, we will now have that be true. And then we read the end of the fight. What? Cultists instead of smugglers in an Arkham Horror game? Or I guess not Arkham Horror technically, right? This is Call of Cthulhu. But yeah, that's not surprising. All right, now it says, if you want to inspect the dead body of the man in uniform, spend an action and read 223. We do want to investigate this guy. Let's use another education card. It is only as you approach that you notice the disturbing details of his appearance. His skin has an unnatural yellowish tint with pockmarks along his neck and temples, suggesting some foul skin disease. His fingers seem abnormally long. Are we getting a Innsmouth horror kind of thing here? I guess it makes sense. Overcoming your revulsion, you begin to search the body. A worn wallet reveals his identity. Caleb Waite, Merchant Marine Captain. You also find a soaked logbook bearing the name The Star of Kingsport. Its pages, covered in cramped handwriting, are largely illegible, the ink having run. Okay, so we get keyword hybrid 5, verified 1. Oh, there we go. Now we won't have to fight anybody again. And add item card 6. Ooh, a gun. All right, it's not quite as good as the shotgun, but actually I'll switch that in for now, because you can swap weapons outside of combat freely. Just in case we have like some giant monster to fight at the end, I'll leave my 12 gauge in my backpack. Yes, you can freely swap outside of combat. When you're in combat, you have to discard a card for an action to swap which weapon you're using. All right, that was fun. Now we got a couple things over here to investigate. So we can look at the barrels in the southeast corner, the wooden crates, the shelves. Examine the area for illegal contraband. Okay. Well, we're here for illegal contraband theoretically, right? So let's go ahead and do that bottom one first. And I'll have Margaret just use both her power cards to guarantee it, although she still has to roll a red die and she doesn't have that bonus red die anymore. By the way, the companions can help any character in a test, but also when you're in the same area as another character, you can freely help each other. So like if Arthur had a card that would help with this power test, which he doesn't, he could contribute that. Oh, I guess he does have Constitution. That could give a +1 die. All right, here we go. Oh, we got lucky with these. So we got 3 successes, 1 more than we needed. You carefully scan the room for hidden mechanisms. You examine the central pillars, hoping to find a concealed lever or secret button. The floorboards creak under your steps, but none seem to hide a trap door. You check behind the rickety shelves. The barrels are heavy but ordinary, revealing nothing unusual. After several minutes of meticulous searching, you must face the facts. The simplicity of the cabin leaves little room for elaborate mechanisms. Okay, I just get another plus red token. Well, let's check some other stuff. I'll examine the barrels for 2. Let's have Arthur do that with 2 of his, I guess. Cautiously, you open the lid of the first barrel. A strong, nauseating smell immediately hits you, an acrid mixture of sea and decomposition. You step back, surprised by its intensity. Leaning in again, you discover a mass of dried seaweed. Intrigued, you turn to the smaller barrels. The first reveals to your surprise a carefully stored container of cod liver oil. In the next, you immediately recognize the characteristic aroma of rum. This discovery confirms your initial suspicions. There must be other contraband goods hidden in the building. Haha, yeah, saying you aren't, bootleggers. I don't believe you. But we get oak barrel, rum barrel. Has a keyword rum if we need it. Now, there's no requirement that we examine everything, but we got a lot of actions left. Why not? I'll have Margaret search the crate so she's out of actions. Or actually, no, I won't. I'll use one of the NPC actions because one of the key things is that only character actions can move you to other locations. So if she has actions left but can't move, that would suck. You begin to open the crates one by one, revealing a disconcerting assortment of objects. One of them, stamped with a Canadian seal, contains a massive and strangely sculpted bone. Its shape and size do not correspond to any animal you know. Another crate, smaller and marked with French inscriptions, reveals a collection of ancient books. Despite the diversity of origins and the potential illegality of these objects, one detail strikes you. None of these crates contains the contraband you are sent to find. In the last crate, wedged between neatly folded clothing, you discover a well-stocked first aid kit containing several rolls of clean bandages. Ooh, we can heal twice with this? I like that a lot, considering that our characters are weaker than average. All right, one more searching along the wall. I'll use, one more of these. You approach the rickety shelves. Your eyes scan the jumble of items piled on them. Your fingers brush over various objects, rusty tin cans, a few books with pages warped by moisture. On a lower shelf, you find a mixed collection of seashells and small carved bones. Behind a stack of yellowed papers is a metal toolbox. You open it, revealing an assortment of well-maintained tools, wrenches, screwdrivers, a hammer, and even a sort of crowbar. Oh, nice, 10. Tools, so we can freely exchange items. I'll just have Arthur carry that for now. As long as items don't have tokens. Yeah, I'm worried about table space for this one, but we'll see how it goes. All right, now both Arthur and Margaret are going to use their last self card to move into location 3. And then we have 1 token left for each NPC companion to help us out. From the old coal stove pours a flickering light and foul-smelling smog. A rustic wooden table dominates the area, 3 chairs surrounding it. A plate piled with foul-smelling food and a half-empty glass bear witness to a recently interrupted meal. In the northwest corner, a narrow Spartan bed is pushed against the wall. Below the stove is a stone basin filled with dirty dishes. In the northeast corner, a door bars your passage, where the mysterious occupant escaped upon your arrival. Okay, we can listen at the door again. We can examine the meal, examine the bed, examine the dishes. We can just open the door, and we can look around for illegal contraband. Well, we only have like one action left for each, so let's do some simple stuff. I'm going to check the bed and the meal. I'll have Arthur check the bed and Margaret the meal. On the rough-hewn table, chipped earthenware first draws your attention. Wads of wet seaweed lay intertwined on the plate. Mixed within the green, slimy mass, you can make out what looks to be dried bloodworms. Yummy. Remnants of seaweed and flecks of worm are still stuck to prongs of the fork. Out of curiosity, you dip your finger in the half-full glass and bring it to your lips. The salty taste surprises you. It's not fresh water, but salt water, almost like they're fish people. And the bed. The rumpled sheets on the bed indicate recent use. Under the pillow, small shiny objects are scattered on the sheet. You lean in for a better look and realize they are scales. They are translucent, almost transparent. You decide to investigate further and look under the bed. There again, you find more similar scales, forming small clusters in the dust. These scales don't remember anything you know. Too large to belong to an ordinary fish, too thin and translucent to come from a reptile. All right, we got keyword hybrid 1. All right, with that, we have used all of our actions. We're going to go to the end of a round. Let me show you how that all works. So first, certain status effects would resolve. Like if we were bleeding, we would add an injury card to our discard pile and then get rid of the status effect. And then we get our cards back together. So we take anything from our discard pile, anything from our play area, the rest of our deck, and we reshuffle everything. So each round, you are potentially drawing all of those negative status effects and such again. Although technically at the start of the round, you draw 5 cards. Now, after you draw those initial 5, you can always choose to stop, even if you didn't get a full allotment of 5 stat cards. Like in this case, if we didn't want to have the chance to draw 2 stress and take an automatic sanity damage. Although again, for the moment, the injury is completely harmless. One of them will not do anything to us. And then we also move the time track up 1. By the way, if we started on a harder mode, we would have lost an entire round. And if you reach one with a narrative entry, you don't read it right away. You read it during the start step of the next round. All right, my throat is suffering here and I'm coughing a lot, so I'm not going to get through the whole scenario. I think that would be silly to try to do anyway on camera. But let's try to do like 1 or 2 more rounds so you can see a bit more of the gameplay. So all my companion usages come back, and let's see what Arthur draws. Okay, we got 1 stress and the 1 injury. Lovely. But I'll choose to keep drawing. Okay, we did not get the other stress. God, but he's all agility, isn't he? Oh well, at least he's ready to shoot somebody if some baddies come out. Okay, and she did not get any of her stress. She got 2 education and a power and another education. Yeah, I mean, characters tend to be good at what they're good at. All right, do we need to do anything else? I don't think we need to search through the dishes. That seems a little silly. But we can look at the illegal contraband. We'll have Margaret do it. I think actually with her +1 red die, I've been rolling a lot of success. I'm just going to spend a single card and see if we get lucky. See what happens. Hey, there. Oh my gosh, got exploding crit. Well, I don't want to use that. Or do I have an option? I'm not sure if I actually do, because I could get the broken star, right? But okay, so we got 3 successes. Methodically, you search for a hidden mechanism, a movable plank, anything that might reveal a concealed compartment filled with contraband goods. You move the bed and scrutinize behind the coat rack. As you run your hand over the worn wooden slats, you feel one of them sink slightly under the pressure of your fingers with a dull click. Slowly, an entire section of the wall begins to pivot. Behind the movable panel, a dark passage is revealed, carved into the rock itself. The narrow corridor that opens before you seems to slope slightly upward. The flickering light from the cabin fails to penetrate the darkness that reigns in this secret passage. Ooh, card 3 becomes 17. All right, so it looks mostly the same, except for there being a door there now. We got a new page, although it looks basically the same. We can take the secret passage. Should I listen to the door? I'm just going to go in the door. I don't think I need to listen this time. And I'll just have Arthur go in by himself. He's got 1 billion agility. I think he can beat up anybody who's in there. I'll use one of his agility cards to walk in. Okay, reveal 4 and go in there. You enter a small wooden room that seems to serve as an outbuilding to the main cabin. Piles of planks are stacked against the walls. These pieces of wood appear to have been salvaged to repair the cabin. Your gaze is drawn to a rope coil placed in a corner next to several pots. As you approach, you recognize a characteristic smell of tar emanating from some containers, while others seem to contain paint that dried long ago. On the east wall, a row of pegs supports 4 sailors' oilskins. In the center of the room, there's a wooden trap door. It looks warm outside. I guess that's where the guy went. All right, let's check out what's in here. Okay, let me see what the errata says for this. Okay, so we could search the wet oilskins. We can inspect the heats of planks. We can examine the area for contraband, or we can try to open the trap door. Okay, so they changed it to be a easy test. Yellow, that's like a general assessment of how many successes we'll need. And okay, good. Agility would work as well as strength. We have all of that. And the plus item means that an item we have might help. I'm guessing the tools that he's holding. And yeah, the rules clarify that an easy test, a green is usually 1 to 2, a yellow is usually 3 to 4, and a red is usually 5 to 6. So I don't have an exact idea here, but I got a basic enough one. But first, let's examine the area for contraband. I think he might need his cards. So I'm actually going to use both generic actions for my companions. Leave all my attribute options still open. You rifle through the assorted junk within the room. The paint cans are heavy, and when you crack them open, they are indeed full of paint in various colors. Cans of tar are half open and sticky to the touch, indicating recent use. The coils of rope looks to be relatively new and in excellent condition. As you handle it, you are impressed by its sturdiness. While you don't find any contraband, you sling the rope over your shoulder. Could prove useful. Yeah, okay, I'll take rope. Maybe I can use it to go down the trapdoor. Keyword rope, yeah. All right, and then I don't really care about the rest. I'm just going to try to go down the trapdoor. So I don't have to actually decide what I'm spending yet. I just know like a general idea of what I'm going to need. The trapdoor seems solid enough, but nothing a good application of physics can't handle. Carefully, you grasp the metal handle embedded in the wood and start to pull. First gently, then with more force as the stubborn wood refuses to yield. You peer through the small gap between the trapdoor and the floor and see a glint of metal that could suggest a latch on the other side. A powerful enough jerk might be enough to snap the latch and open the passage down. Okay, so, yes, because I have tools, I can use that crowbar, and I only need 2 successes instead of 4. Heck yeah. Let's make it an automatic thing and do both of those, but still have to roll a red. Hey, we finally got one, an elder sign. First one does not to do anything specifically, but the next one will force it to read something. You pull violently on the trapdoor. The wood cracks, the metal groans with a deafening crash. The trapdoor gives way. You cautiously lean over this hole. A smell of putrefaction immediately assaults you, leaving you to wonder what foulness you might find in the dark down below. Ugh. All right, and I guess, he is running a little bit low on cards, but I've still got all the allies to help us out, so I should be okay. All right, reveal co-locations 5 and 6. Any characters present wishing to descend through the trapdoor, spend 1. Okay, I'll use an education ally token, because again, Margaret's got that handle already. Then place their character on location 5. The trapdoor is open. A wooden ladder leads you into an elongated room, carved directly into the rock. The room naturally divides into 2 parts. In the first, 2 large, dark wooden cabinets stand against the walls. Between these cabinets, benches are arranged on either side. Looking toward the second part of the room, you see another cabinet and 2 additional benches with a makeshift shelf affixed to the wall. In the far gloom, set in an alcove carved directly into the stone of the cave wall, you vaguely distinguish the outlines of a large, hulking figure. Okay, so what can we do in room 5? We can search the cabinets along the wall. Search the other cabinets along the wall. We can examine the area for illegal contraband. We could climb up the ladder to the upper floor. Or if we have wood, we can do that. All right. Well, probably the cabinets along the east wall that have a test with them are the better ones. Oh, man, and this is the stat that Margaret's way better at. Should I bring her down here? Yeah, why not? Okay, so I'll spend 1 of her education cards, and then another one to climb down the ladder. And then she's got power, and I'll have Sarah do another power to help her out. Oh, that might be 3 to 4 successes. Actually, I don't want to mess up. Okay, let's try the illegal contraband first and not use the white die. I don't want to accidentally not get anything. Okay, and so we got 3 successes. You carefully examine the long room carved into the rock. The wooden floor creaks under your steps as you check under the benches and inspect every corner. You test the wooden cabinets, trying to move them slightly to check if there might be something behind them. While pushing the furniture, you make an intriguing discovery. The cabinet located in the southeast corner is firmly attached to the wall, unlike the others. Oh, that's one I was about to investigate. This peculiarity arouses your curiosity as it seems deliberately immobilized as if it were hiding something. Oh, nice. Validate keyword cabinet. Maybe I can, maybe it opens, I guess. All right, we have 7 actions left. Let's have, with strength, maybe. Arthur will check the cabinet along the west wall. With caution, you open the door of the wardrobe. You discover a pair of boots at the bottom of the wardrobe. Above, clothes are carefully hung on hangers. The quality surprises you. The fabrics are fine. The cuts elegant. Oh, we gotta spend more time. Okay, I'll use one of Sarah's appearance actions. While examining the boots more closely, you notice that they seem more suited to a luxury wardrobe than to a damp underground hideout. Above them, clothes are carefully hung on hangers. You recognize a linen shirt, well-tailored pants, and even a suit jacket. In an inside pocket, you feel something rigid. With caution, you extract a fine leather wallet. Dude, is this leaving all his stuff? The object is elegant, obviously expensive. Inside, you find a few banknotes and an identity card with the name Obadiah Gilman. The photo shows a man in his 50s with a severe face and bulging eyes. Oh, nice! Dude, what are the chances that Arthur was the one examining this and I get to do the... Well, although I'm not quite clear, this is a question I have. The rules are not as explicit as they could be. like all your other keywords apply to the entire group. Does Arthur's local police keyword only apply to actions he is taking or to the entire group when he's in it? But anyway, let's go and do 169. You remember Obadiah Gilman, one of the most influential notables of Rockport, owner of the Gilman & Sons cod liver oil factory. Oh, we found cod liver earlier. You met him at the annual charity ball of the Maritime Society. Despite the festive atmosphere, Gilman stood apart, observing the crowd with a distant eye. You even heard several people whispering about the success of his maritime business, highlighting the paradox of his powerful but solitary man. What is he doing in a smuggler's hideout? Okay, we get Rockport 2. What's he doing in a smuggler's hideout? Being a fishman. What do you think he's doing? What's left without moving? I'd really like to do the special cabinet I found, but I don't think I can. Margaret's got a card that can give a +1. One of my 2 allies has a card that can give a +1, so I'd have to roll 2 white dice and the red. But it's a yellow, so I'd need 3 to 4. That doesn't seem like it's going to work out. All right, maybe I have Margaret hang out there and just waste her 1 education card that's left. I know it's a bummer, but I'll have Arthur move here with his last agility card. And then we've got 3 ally cards left. We can at least investigate some stuff. In the shadowy gloom of the far side of the room sits 2 benches. There's a cabinet set against the west wall and a shelf attached to the east, littered with various metal objects that glint in the light of your lantern. At the back of the room is an alcove carved from the living stone of the cave wall. Within, also carved from stone, is a statue whose shape suggests a monstrous maritime creature. Okay. We've not validated metal. Okay, cool. So he's got actions to inspect the niche with the statue and inspect the cabinet. Let's start with the statue, 109. Oh, Lord. A niche carved in the rock houses a polished black statue. Represents a crouching entity, half beast, half fish. Its stocky and powerful body is covered with rough scales. Its disproportionate head, equipped with 3 eyes, displays a gaping mouth with sharp teeth. The limbs end in claws that grip a base decorated with patterns. Examining more closely, you notice a thin slit tracing a perfect rectangle around the base, suggesting that a part could be movable. More intriguing still, the eye sculpted on the front of the base has a hole resembling a twisted keyhole. Its unusual shape suggests it requires a very specific key. Okay, we do not have niche. We do not have clue card 2. We do not have dark corners. We could force it. Yeah, I can't do that right now, but certainly next turn with the tools, I could probably get to 3 agility. All right, well, I've got 2 actions left. So I guess I'll search the cabinet and search the shelves. Each of those is one. Let's start with the cabinet. The cabinet turns out to be a wardrobe filled mostly with empty hangers whose metallic shapes gleam out in the darkness when they catch the light of your lamp. Only one hanger is occupied, a solitary garment that you conclude is some sort of tunic or robe. The fabric is thick and fluid with an indefinable color that oscillates between dark purple and petroleum gray. Lovely. Reminiscent of marine depths. Complex, almost hypnotic patterns are woven into the garment, and as you touch it, you are perplexed to find it is slightly damp, despite its dry appearance. Like I said, we got cultists. Cultists, everybody. All right, and finally, the shelf. The shelf seems to have suffered from ambient humidity. The wood shows signs of deterioration. You notice 3 metal supports, one of which has an object hanging from it. It's a pendant attached to a metal chain. The chain is covered with verdigris. It represents a strange figure, half human, half fish. Although you cannot precisely identify what this image represents, something about it disturbs you deeply. Oh, now we get metal. Oh, and we get a clue card. Interesting. Ooh, if you wish to examine the medallion, spend an action and read 180. And this is a token. Yeah, the setup for the scenario was like, hey, get this token nearby. So that seems to be important. Cool. All right, but we're going to end the round there. We did have a single action card left for Margaret, but again, she wants to stay where she is and examine that shelving unit more. And sorry, I think I'm going to stop the video there as well because my throat is dying and I cannot read anymore. But hopefully that gives you at least a inkling of how the game plays. This is very much, if you couldn't tell, trying to bring the Call of Cthulhu role-playing experience into a tabletop kind of mode, for better or worse. But yeah, I'm going to try to play through the rest of this one off camera and then maybe scenarios 2 and 3. And if I have the chance to do that, I will have a review coming down the pike. It might take a while though, since my backlog is very long right now. But I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. Thanks for watching. And a special thank you to our biggest Patreon supporters, J. William F., Steve Wren, KCW, Andrew R., and Chris C. We'll see you at the next stop.